I'm Dr. Monte Perez, the president of Los Angeles Mission College, and this is what I call the brown bag, but I don't see any brown bags, but I do see some food. So 1 hour to kind of chat about this topic of revenue enhancement. It was really Leslie Mielke's idea, who suggested that it would be good to do this often on directions of the college, an opportunity for questions and answers. In the last 10 years, higher education has increased in enrollments by 35% nationally. So from 2000 to 2010, our full-time equivalent enrollment nationally has increased by 35%. But in that same time period, nationally, state support for public higher education, average state support per student, dropped from $8,000 to $6,000. You saw and you see, and we are witnessing today again at the federal level, the very fact that public higher education, as well as public social services, public health, senior citizen programs, all of those public programs are decreasing in dollars in spending. In the state of California this past year, that we finally got a budget for the state with projections of revenue, and they are projecting a $2 billion to $4 billion increase in revenue based on what they saw what happened in June, July, or May, June. All of a sudden the state saw, oh, there's additional revenue coming in from taxpayers and so forth. But then in July, August, that revenue slumped. So now the state's sort of saying, yes, we're expecting the additional $2 billion to $4 billion. However, we need to take another look at it in September, see how August and September receipts are going. Our budget for community colleges statewide is contingent upon that we get a minimum of $2 billion more dollars from the state in terms of the state revenues. If that happens, then our projections of this year's spending stand firm. And so the projections spending for LA Community College District and for Mission is based on a reduction of 5.5, and now, because of the less receipts in July and August, a careful review showed that we need to look about 6.21% reduction. So we actually put in place a workload reduction, which is primarily, by the way, part-time faculty. By reducing part-time faculty or reducing classes, you reduce payments to part-time faculty. We still had merit and step increases, as for staff. And for this year, we kept the supplies budget the same as last year. Now, early on, we thought we needed to do some reductions there, but we decided that, no, we'll stand firm, keep it at last year's level, because people were concerned about how they're going to operate in fiscal year 11-12. So having said that, it's no small secret that the state of California's state budget is challenged, and we are challenged to offer classes, to hire people, and to financially sustain our college into the future with less state dollars. So it is incumbent upon us, and incumbent upon me in particular, to try to find other ways to generate revenue. But the area I want to talk about today is what I call revenue enhancement, and that is to take our assets and see if we can then use those to bring in some very specific dollars. And We need to do this because we have new buildings with more square footage, more utility bills, more need for maintenance and operation, and Wally's sitting there and he could say yes to all of that. Because we're having these big buildings built, how are we going to sustain these buildings? We need to increase our enrollments, but the state of California won't give us the money to increase our enrollments because they don't have it. So how do we sustain maintenance and operations, utilities, to make sure that we can pay for these buildings for the next 10 to 20 years and beyond? And revenue enhancement can help us with that. So I put in place with Rolf, and we got excited about the idea of seeing if anybody wants to volunteer. We had 3 pilots volunteered. One is in Culinary Arts. They would like to increase their catering operation. So they did what I'm now calling a revenue enhancement plan. I know I called it a business plan, but I want to rename it because it sounds better to me. And it's basically a revenue enhancement plan that's looking at how do we make a catering operation work that's programmatically grounded. In other words, we don't want to do anything like a business that's not grounded into the program. In this case, Culinary Arts, it's grounded because we have culinary arts students who produce food that can be sent and catered. We have a truck. We have the ability to make this happen, but we do need to staff it up. We need to make sure we're on time and we have all the things we need, and it's got to pay for itself. It can't be a money loser. It has to be a money maker in that sense. The second one is the Children's Center. Their idea was to start a kindergarten academy, Mission College Kindergarten Academy. And then thirdly, the third one is the Health Fitness Athletic Complex, and particularly the fitness program. And you guys have already got experience with that, and so we're looking at that area. So those are the 3 that kind of stepped up and said, we're going to try this. This is a pilot year. Let's see how it works. There's a lot of stuff we need to do as a college to administratively make it sensible. I don't want a lot of administrative red tape. We need to have accounts made, dedicated revenue, and so forth. Now, the key issue that all 3 of them and everybody's asking is, where will the money go? And so I am prepared to talk about that a little bit today, but I want to present it to the College Council on the 18th. I'm going to pretty much go with what Trade Tech is doing, because LA Trade Tech is doing this right now through cosmetology and their auto program. You can get your car fixed at Trade Tech, and you pay for that. Or you can get your hair cut, esthetician, salon experience at Trade Tech, and you pay for that at market rates. It's good for cosmetology because they have an internship requirement. So they have to intern anyway. They have to cut hair. They have to do all that. Last year, they cleared about $600,000 on just those two efforts. So I discussed with Chip, the president, Chapelaine, how do you work out the revenue sharing? And what they do at Trade Tech is 60% goes to the college and 40% goes to the program. So cosmetology gets 40% of those revenues after cost. So I'm going to suggest that might be a good way to go, because the college still has to pay for the utilities and maintenance and operations aspect of those facilities. So that would be my suggestion. Then finally, let me say that this is a pilot. We're trying it out. We'll see if it works. I don't want to add a lot of burden on faculty and staff. This is what we do. We're about our programs and our education. However, if we can do like the Children's Center, we have the knowledge, we have the staff, we have the ability to do this, and it's a good thing for the community because they want it. I think we should pursue those kind of opportunities that make sense. So that's why we did these revenue enhancement plans, to really understand it. The question is, are we catering to the international students rather than the community people? And it's very important that the answer to that question is 200 out of 10,000 students is not, to me, a huge number, number one. Number two is If, in fact, international students displaced resident students, my answer would be yes, but they will not displace resident students. In fact, they'll create more access because we'll be able to afford more classes. That's the way we approach that. The question is there a trend, are there trends in majors for international students? Right now, most of the students we draw want to get a bachelor's degree, pretty much in the sciences, engineering, those kind of areas. However, there's a real interest that we need to explore programmatically, and that is many of them are interested in technical, computer, culinary arts, hospitality management. Think about it. China's building hotels like all over the place in China. They need hospitality managers. They need those kind of technical skills. So there's an interest in different parts of the high school curriculum and the education for that technical as well. And they're looking to come here to get that. Question is, how do I see, and the leadership of the college see, overseeing the process for revenue enhancement? The first thing that I alluded to, and I think Rolf did too, is whatever we do, it has to be a winner. So we will not do something that we know we're pretty much going to lose on. And the way we're finding that out is through our revenue enhancement plan or our business plans, where we actually look at dollars and cents about staffing it, supplies, here's what you have to spend in order to make this amount of money, and does it pencil out? The question is, has anyone thought of an enterprise working with the elderly or the seniors? I think that would really be an area we should do a business plan around to see what resources we could pull together for that. I think it makes sense, and I've invited my dean of the one I had at Moreno Valley, dean of health sciences, to come by and give us curriculum around certified nursing assistant, in-home health care, that kind of stuff, to help us with that, have a conversation with him, and he can give us that information. So yes, I think that's a burgeoning industry. We ought to look at it. My son just finished an occupational therapist license in New Mexico, and there's like 80 jobs waiting for him that he could apply to. And that's just the little state of New Mexico. We know that they're hiring, and if you look at the figures of the economy, 32,000 new jobs in healthcare. I have been thinking of it. My suggestion, though, is that we do more allied health than nursing. Nursing is very expensive, and nursing is, well, I'll say it on TV, is very political. Nurses, God bless them, I'm glad we have them, but guess what? Lab techs, radiology techs, respiratory therapists, there are 6, 7 right now. If we had those programs, they get hired like that. Okay, the question is that we could offer our facilities for conferences, for 3-day workshops, certificate programs. We could bring in people to do that kind of stuff. The answer is yes, I'd very much like to do that. That is part of the rental facility strategy, and we did build in numbers. Francis knows that. Numbers on renting our facilities out for these kind of activities. Community education is involved with a lot of that. So yes, I want to step up that activity and be able to offer those kind of 1-day or 3-day work, intensive, where people will pay money for that because they want to get that certificate or that knowledge in the field. So yes, we should look into more of that. Curtis is talking about renting out our facilities, particularly for tournaments, athletic tournaments. Rolf, did you want to respond to that?
Yeah, one of our difficulties, John and Steve have been doing a great job looking at what they can do through Eagles Fitness, and that's really focusing on the gym, but we're thinking athletics can be an area we can grow considerably. Part of the problem is we're going through the whole bond measures at this time, so we have to look at the designations for the fields that we want to have, and then making sure we have the risk components covered too. If people get injured out there on the field, that's a problem for us as well. So That's why we're first focusing on rentals on the buildings that exist, and then looking at those other programs as well. But I'm actually meeting with Steve tomorrow morning to go through his business plans, and he's actually done a really nice plan initially, and so we're going to look at some of the other revenue streams he can create within Eagles Fitness. So that'll be one area we'll talk about in depth.
Okay, thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.